Podcast brought to you by Nottinghamshire Live. Hello, it's Friday night, about 10 or 15 minutes after the final whistle at Bramall Lane as we record this, after Forest drew 1-1 against Sheffield United to leave them in 8th in the Championship, 2 points off the playoffs and crucially not 5 points behind Sheffield United. If the Blades had hung on to have won that game after Billy Sharp gave them a lead after Forest missed a hatful of chances, and we'll get into all that and more in the company of myself with Michael Temple. Temps, are you well?
Evening, Matt. All good, thank you.
Good. That was a funny old game, wasn't it? Well, just give us your overall emotions before we break it all down.
It was 2 points drop because of the incessant pressure that we put Sheffield United under, and there's lingering shot on Billy Sharp after the game there, and he's almost in tears on the bench. But I think even he knew that if they had have held on to that lead, it would have been the wrong result. It would have been absolute abject robbery, given the fact they were forced to camp in their own half for long periods. We looked by far the better team, made all the running first half. So, yeah, we'll get into detail, as you say, but that is 2 points drop for Forest.
So, I suppose there's two camps on this, aren't there? You dominate a game, and you're either really unlucky to get hit with a sucker punch, or you get what you deserve for not being able to convert all your opportunities. I kind of know which camp I'm in, but I'll let you go first. Where do you stand on it?
Yeah, we missed the penalty, didn't we? Which was the best chance of the game, obviously, first half. Garner's delivery meant we weren't able to convert that pressure and those first half corners into any meaningful chances. So, yeah, look, Forest have won a lot of games this season by being relatively compact in the first half, more adventurous in the second half, and the legs and pace out wide have told. So I wasn't concerned when we turned around 0-0, despite having not capitalised on a dominance in the first half. But yeah, I was demoralised when they scored, and subsequently elated when Yates bagged that equaliser late on. But yeah, we were wasteful, but when we turned around, I still thought we'd go on and win the game.
Yeah, I suppose what frustrated me, we'll come on to the penalty, and it wasn't really the penalty. I think probably Sheffield United turned the ball over to us quite needlessly, quite a lot of time. I know Forest press was really good, a bit like Preston did to Forest the other week. But I think ruthless teams probably turn one of those opportunities into chances and you take them. And that was what frustrated me in the first half. And then obviously Billy Sharp's ice cold, and we'll come on to that. People watching on YouTube, we're live on YouTube. If you drop stuff in the comments, we'll be kind of as interactive as we can tonight, and we'll talk about a few things. Where shall we start then? You mentioned the starts of the game. Forest have been quite lax in starts, haven't they? I think of Cardiff away, Borough away, Preston to an extent, but they were really good from the start here. It was just like you say, Garner's corners. They had 7 corners in the first 20 minutes, I think. And I think was one good out of that. I suppose he's normally very reliable, isn't he? But it was a point of frustration tonight that he wasn't quite on it until the 95th minute.
Yeah, I get the sense that him and Colback have been locked in a bit of a battle, both wanting to take the set pieces, and a couple of deliveries that Colback had real quality on them. And obviously, it gives you a slightly different option with the left peg. But yeah, Garner that's his brief, isn't he? He's busy, he's box to box, and you know he's going to have that whip, that pace, and usually that accuracy with the set pieces. But it wasn't quite there today. But they did set the stall out, Matt, and that the first 5-6 minutes, as you say, having been slow starters, I think we shocked Sheffield United early on, and we kind of tempered the adventure of their midfield, nullified Gibbs White a lot, who had quite a big build up before the game. So yeah, I think that one real positive was the manner in which we filled up the blocks in the first 10 minutes.
There was obviously the penalty, but before that, I mean, there really should have been a penalty for the shirt pull on Keinan Davis, shouldn't there? I mean, how does the ref miss that?
Keinan was sandwiched between two players, wasn't he? And I think he gets penalised because he's so physically dominant, and he's kind of very, very technical in the sense of, you know, where he puts his weight as he's, you know, waiting underneath a goal kick, or if he's being poised to challenge in the air or receive a ball to feet. He's a very, very technically gifted player. I think that's sometimes written off as being, strong or athletic. There's far more at play with what Keinan Davis is doing to be so successful in duels and challenges as often as he is. I don't know how the ref has missed that first shout. Keenan's kind of sandwiched between two players, isn't he? There's arms and legs everywhere. So I wonder if the referee was unsighted, because it was a clear penalty from the angle that we saw. And yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that in more detail, but I thought Keinan was exceptional tonight and deserved the penalty for his endeavours.
Yeah, he was tremendous, wasn't he? I mean, I think I kind of put on Twitter, I think was tonight a night where you miss grabbing to get on the end of some of Keenan's good work, perhaps, do you think?
You do, for that kind of one-touch finish and being in the right place at the right time to tap home. But he's a completely different type of player, isn't he? I really can't think. I'm struggling to think of a player, a striker, who's better with their back to goal than Keinan Davis has been for Forest this season. I'm probably thinking back to Collymore in terms of people that have worn a Forest shirt. I just think he's almost impossible to mark. You try to clobber him, he's stronger than you. He's not going to go down. You try to get around him, he's going to roll you. He's got that deftness of touch, that Cruyff turn between two defenders. Was a real positive example of that. But yeah, what a quality all-round player. And the one thing he lacks is perhaps what Grabban has got, which is that deft touch and that deadly finish, ruthless streak, should we say, in front of goal.
So we come on to the penalty then for Forest. Don Goodman seemed to be making his best case that it really was a penalty. He was really trying to make the case that it wasn't. I mean, I thought it was a nailed-on penalty, wasn't it?
It was a penalty, wasn't it? And Dawson and Joby in the Sky studio both concurred at half-time. The moment is where his knee clatters the back of Jed's knee. That's a foul. He's got past him. He's very intelligently stepped across him. He's torn him inside out, if you watch that passage of play. And he's won the penalty. There's no question, no doubt for me. That was a stonewall penalty. And another example of why Jed Spence will probably be playing in the top half of the Premier League, if not, some spot in Europe next season. What a player.
There's a comment from Silverware, whose avatar on YouTube looks like it might be a topless woman, so I'm reluctant to put it on. So I'll just read the comment out in case it is. It says, poor penalty, chasing the game after, got to be relieved to get a point. And another fan false flag says, really important, we didn't lose tonight, deserved to win, but happy with the point. What did you make of the penalty? Was it that bad? Or do they look really bad when the keeper stands up to them?
I think the first time you do it, he did the same penalty against Stoke, didn't he? Like the same run up and pretty much Blackburn, and pretty much placed it in the same spot. But if the keeper's done any kind of research, he knows he stands his ground and catches that as Foderingham did. So no, I think the best way to take a penalty is to find a corner and then go side foot with pace. You've got to have more variation than Brennan has shown in his last two penalties, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was taken off the next game. It was a poor penalty.
Yeah, I mean, Foderingham, I think they said on Sky, saved 2 out of his last 3, and I had a look and he saved 11 out of 38 penalties he's faced. So he obviously does his homework and he's a good shot stopper. Joby McAnuff made a good point, didn't he, I think, about the penalty. There wasn't much disguise, was there? It kind of looks a bit obvious what he was handling. I think his dad's tweeted afterwards he'll learn from that. And you don't want to dig Brennan out because he's been so good, but it is one he has to learn from, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, of course he does. He needs more variation. You can't take the same penalty twice in two in the Championship because, as you say, keepers are wise to it. I wasn't aware of Fodringham's exemplary record in saving penalties, but I was impressed with him tonight. He seemed really confident coming for corners. He had a couple of instinctive saves to make at short range. And yeah, most keepers do dive, don't they? For a penalty, they try and sneak off the line and make a guess. So, he'd either done his research, read Brennan's eyes, a combination of the two, or he's just a solid Championship keeper, and he certainly looked like one tonight. I think he frustrated us a little bit.
So we get to half time, and I put in the WhatsApp group, Sheffield United 1-0, Garner sent off. And you, because the way Forest have been dominating, you replied you fancied Forest still. So they did start the second half well, didn't they? You were in no doubt that Forest were going to go on to win the game at that point.
Yeah, because I think that's Cooper's plan A. Is he's made us really solid at the back, built a solid foundation, and if there's 3 players that are easier to pick every week than Worrell, McKenna, and Cook, then I'd like to know who they are. From that base, we then overwhelm them with the manner in which Spence, in particular, can do the work of 2 players. We've got lively attacking talent in and around the box. And once they're tired and frustrated and they start to open up, we just overwhelm them with pace and energy. So that's why I wasn't concerned. That's the pattern in which we've won a lot of games this season. So no, there's no concern for me. And then, as you say, we came out and started in the manner in which we played most of the first half, and still looked to be in control. And cruising is probably the wrong word, but yeah, seemed to be the dominant force in the match.
Silverware avatar update. It's not a topless woman, it's Conan the Barbarian. They're very small on my screen in the comments section, so I can't see. So there you go. What next? Oh, Cook hits the bar, doesn't he? And then Zinkernagel has that shot charged down, and he sprints 60, 70 yards and gets back a brilliant tackle. I didn't think he was at his best tonight, Zinkernagel, but I guess that shows 2 things, doesn't it? I mean, Forest a bit unlucky off the corner, but also that work rate and the commitment. I thought that was exemplary from Forest tonight, wasn't it? Defensively, they were really good.
Yeah, Zink had a funny game. So he did what he always does, had some tidy touches around the box. There's times when he doesn't overplay, when he just lays the ball off. But what you need from your luxury player is quality at the moment he has a sight on goal. And once he'd skipped past the centre half, and he was forced wide left, wasn't he? And he had the chance to either hit the target, test the keeper, or square it for a Brennan tap in, and he decided to put his laces through it, and it hit the side netting. And that's not good enough. When your role in a game is to try and be a game breaker and have those 1 or 2 opportunities to break the game, you have to take advantage of that. And yeah, I mean, look, fair play. He covered so much ground to track back and make that saving challenge. That was vital, and that was his moment in the game. But that's not what he's in the team for. You just wish he'd shown a little bit more composure in and around goal, and that's probably why he's been loaned from the Premier League to the Championship. I like him. I think he's been a really good player to have around this season. But yeah, I'm kind of seeing why Watford were perhaps willing to let him drop down a league for this season.
Yeah, I can see why, because his record with Bodo Glimt in Norway was exemplary, but you can kind of see why, can't you? I mean, I don't see a lot of Norwegian football, but I get the sense he's probably getting more than 1 or 2 chances a game, and he's good enough to do something with 4 or 5, but he can be a bit frustrating with 1 or 2, as you say.
Good player. I don't want to sound like I'm digging him out, because I don't think I am. I'm just trying to make that point that in the Premier League, with half a chance, you've got to do something with it. And, you can see he's frustrated with himself, but you just want that little bit more from him. And yeah, you'd back him to go and make an impact in a top division.
Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, he did well against Leicester, didn't he? He was really good in that game, and he was really good against... Was he really good against Arsenal? I think he was. But then there's just games, like you say, where... I mean, Cardiff away is the worst example, but no one was good there. But yeah, he's not quite... He can be a little frustrating, but he's a good player. Sheffield United take the lead. I mean, we were talking about, grabbing and finishers, and there's none better than Billy Sharp. I thought he was tremendous tonight, wasn't he? That thing, he kept getting free kicks off Worrell, and there wasn't much Worrell could do, because he either fouls him or Sharp pings it off to a teammate, and Sheffield United, I mean, he's not very big, but he was their out ball and waffling. He was really good, and it was a great finish, wasn't it?
He seemed like there was a bit of needle with him and Worrell, didn't it? They seemed to be getting into that tussle from the start, and if it was just them both embracing the battle, or something's been said in a previous game, I'm not sure, but they definitely seemed to be up for the scrap. But yeah, look, watching him, I looked up his record: 245 league goals in 586 appearances. That's a hell of a career. And he's bitted and bobbed around. He had a decent season at Forest, didn't he, on loan. But yeah, despite his age, he showed that when you lose that top end pace and the sharpness, there's still a kind of a knowledge of where to be at the right time, and the quality on that finish was there, wasn't it? It was a really, really impressive piece of movement for him to ghost away from Worrell, get inside Jed Spence. What a cross, has to be said. And yeah, he found the finish completely against the run of play. But yeah, that's what top Championship strikers do, and that's why he's still very much in that side at the age that he is.
That was probably the first point in the game Forest lost their way a bit, wasn't it? And then I suppose we should give a word to Horvath, because he did make a couple of big saves. And if the second one goes in, it's game over. What have you made of Horvath? Well, there's a question that comes from, let me just find it, from Lee, who I used to work with, who's a friend of mine, about Monday, who misses out on, who plays in goal. I still lean towards Samba. What do you think?
Yes, Samba will come back into the team. I think Horvath has shown that he's a competent shot stopper, but the one thing he really struggles with is being a footballer. And what I mean by that is, ball at his feet. He seems a little bit nervous, a little bit hurried. And I know at times Forest fans get a bit frustrated with Samba when he doesn't distribute quickly, or he decides not to take an easy option and goes for something with a bit more flair. But there was an example today where Horvath has just launched a crossfield ball at McKenna's neck, and he's had to jump up and chest a ball in a situation where there was no pressure. He's almost, bored a bit upon us. So I think he's handled himself very, very well in the last 3 games, 2 clean sheets and the performance tonight, which was solid. But what Samba has that he doesn't is an ability with the ball at his feet to launch attacks, to find a pass that Horvath wouldn't find, and this kind of unflappable nature in possession. And I think that Samba will definitely have learned from his his hot-headedness off the back of this ban. Hopefully, take himself down a gear in those kind of heat of the battle moments. And pick up the form that he's shown throughout the season. Because for me, Samba is the better keeper, and we'll be back in the side on Monday. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I agree. I think Horvath, he's very competent, wasn't he? But he lacks a swagger, and I think a goalie needs a bit of a swagger. I suppose Samba, he sort of projects chaos and calm at the same time. So there's always stuff going off around him, but at the same time, I think the defenders know that if they need him to come and get a ball, or like you say, ping one out 60 yards to them, he's probably going to get it right more often than Horvath is. When the ball goes back into Horvath to kick it out, I don't know if it's kind of flashbacks to that Middlesbrough goal, and maybe he's not as bad as he looks with the ball at his feet. But I do get a bit nervous and think, this could end up anywhere. So like you say, I think he's done a good job, but Samba's the better goalie. And it'll be interesting where that leaves Horvath in the summer. I see he's linked with a return to America, and it might kind of make sense. We're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but he signed a 3-year contract. He's not going to want to spend 3 years as a number 2, but to me, Samba's the better option, and I think he'll come back in on Monday for sure. Let's just finish on this game then with Forest. They kept going to the end. They get a goal through Yates. He gets in those areas, doesn't he? I think David Johnson was on saying he can be a 10-goal a season man. I don't know how many he's got now. I'll have a look while you answer this, but he's having a good season, isn't he?
Yeah, I was fascinated when Jono said that last week, because he's watched Yatesy come through the age groups, obviously, but I think that can become part of his game. He does get into the box. He is a threat from corners. I would say he probably benefits from the fact that Sheffield United's best markers, anyone's best markers, are going to try and do a man-to-man job on Cook, McKenna, and Worrell. So Yates probably goes a little bit unnoticed in and amongst those 3. But there's so many weapons that Forest can send forward for corners, and that's not the first time that Yatesy's done that. So yeah, I agree with Jono. Actually, I think Yatesy, even as a box-to-box midfielder with great all-round qualities, puts a shift in, wins his headers and tackles, good pass with the ball. He does pop up with his fair share of goals, and maybe he could add a few more to his tally. But great. That was a good delivery from Garner, and it was a really, really well-placed header down into the corner to get Forest the point that they more than deserved.
So yeah, I had a quick look. It's 5 for the season and 3 in 8. So he's having a, for a central midfielder, if he can get to 8 goals or something for the season, I mean, that's a good return. You mentioned there the point Forest deserves. How's this one going to be remembered then? Do you think it's a point gained more than 2 dropped, or I think you said this at the start, you think it was 2 points dropped overall?
Yeah, it was 2 points dropped overall. I think we'd back ourselves to win a game in which we had the superior chances to that extent. But psychologically massive, keeps us in touch with the top 6. We're 2 points behind Sheffield United, who are in 6th with 54. We'd have been, well, what would we have been? We'd have been 5 points behind Sheffield United and QPR if we'd have lost that game. So, yeah, it was vital. I didn't like their sporting tactics, their delaying tactics. It reminded me of us under Billy Davies, the way that Sharp, jogged back to the middle of the pitch, only to walk off, having been told he's being subbed. McBurney trying to place the free kick, which we were trying to take quickly back in the corner spot. The non-existent shoulder injury that the keeper claimed to have when he went down under no pressure.
I'm going to come in on that when you finish. Yeah.
Some top-notch time wasting from Sheffield United, and I'm glad that it bit them.
Fotheringham's shoulder injury was absolutely ridiculous. At one point, he's down, he's holding his shoulder, and he's going, no. He goes, no, I'm done. And then literally the camera's on him. He's pointing to with the same shoulder, ridiculous. Good games from SHEFF, I suppose.
He conned the ref though, Max. He gave 5 minutes added. I thought by that point they were probably comfortably 5 or 6 minutes added, and then that happened, and then all the stuff with McBurney, fair play, got a yellow card for what he was trying to do. But there should have been at least 7 minutes added there, particularly when it was like such obvious time wasting. You're supposed to add the seconds anyway for the substitutions. So yeah, I think the when the board went up, I thought we were a bit shortchanged. But yeah, glad it didn't matter in the end.
Yeah, they might have nicked it. Let's look briefly at Monday night. I suppose the main thing now, obviously Huddersfield played tonight and won, and they were clinical. The main topic will be team selection now. There were some tired-looking bodies there. I assume Max Lowe comes back in. Who's missing out of those midfielders? Zinkernagel, Colback, Yates, Garner. I'm guessing one of them is going to miss out. Who's missing out for you?
Yeah, he's got a decision to make there, hasn't he? Because Lowe definitely comes back into that side. I think he goes unchanged with the 3 centre halves. Jed plays, Keinan has to play. So the selection dilemma is those in the middle. I wonder if Garner needs to come out of the spotlight for a game. I feel that Yates and Colback centre mid is the firmest possible foundation you can have to get around the park, to screen the back 3, and to contribute to everything that we try to do. We saw that something was missing when Yatesy was left out a couple of weeks ago. So I just wonder if the change is Low in for Garner, with Colback coming back into the middle.
I think, to me, it's a choice between Colback and Zinkernagel, probably. I think Zinkernagel likes the big stage. It's on TV. I'd be tempted to play him. Colback looks a bit shattered to me after an hour. And I just wonder whether you benefit from the energy. I certainly agree. I think Yates has to start. Like you said, I think they missed something. It's a bit of an intangible sometimes, isn't it? Because he wasn't all over the pitch tonight, but he's quite a calming influence. So I think maybe Colback misses out and he'd be a bit unlucky of shuffling out of the midfield and then losing his place. But I think that's probably the one. There's an interesting question about Richie Larea. He wasn't even on the bench tonight. I mean, maybe that'll be, as we're recording this, I imagine Cooper's doing his press, so maybe that will get asked. But I would have wonder where he is. Were you surprised he wasn't on the bench tonight unless he's injured?
I'm not surprised in the sense that Steve Cooper sees his players far more than we do, and we judge them on the 90 minutes or a cameo appearance from the bench. So I've learned to trust every decision that Cooper's made. I had a brief conversation with him a couple of weeks ago, and you hear from people that are close to him. And the biggest takeaway is that he gets it. He feels, he sees the performances that we see. He has the same selection dilemmas going off in his head. He praises the things that we enjoy. So I trust his judgment implicitly. And if Lauria's fit and well and left out, it's because he thinks Colback's by far the better option. And you know what? I'm with him. Like, as Colback put a foot wrong on the left-hand side this season, I can't think of a moment
he got
when
sent off in one game.
Oh, he did, yeah. That was yeah.
Apart from that.
So yeah, I do understand it, and I do trust Cooper. And yeah, ultimately, I think he's probably got the decision right. So that will lead to the question as well. You know, what's Lauria here for? He won't be the first person to sign and disappear quietly if his face doesn't fit, or if he's not putting the yards in training, or whatever that reason might be. But whatever that reason is, I trust Cooper for the conclusion that he draws.
Yeah, I mean, he might be one that we see next season. I don't know, but it was interesting, wasn't it? Because you've got Mighton and Lolly both getting back on the pitch tonight. You wondered if Lolly might be done, but there are options there, aren't there, now from the bench? So, you know, Forest can chase games, as we saw tonight, can't they?
Yeah, again, I think we had this conversation really early in the season about them being saturated with options in a certain part of the pitch, and it's the wide man, and it's the kind of attacking midfielder in a sense, because Mighton and Lolly with a run of games and a demonstration of form could yet get back into that side. But the manner in which the selections have gone over recent weeks and the results that we've delivered, we feel we've all got a bit of a handle on the best 11, and we have this ongoing debate around the three that you're going to choose centre mid. So there isn't really any kind of scramble to get Mighton and Lolly back into the starting 11, because you'd also identify them as great lads to bring on with 20 minutes to go. I sense that Lolly's fallen down the pecking order, fallen out of favour, fallen away slightly from that form that he showed in the season when he was at his very best. But I'd love nothing more than for him to recapture that. And Mighton still has, unbridled potential, doesn't he? So, yeah, there's some depth there, which is good to see. Once again, the bit of depth we're probably missing is centre forward. You'd be concerned about what would happen if Davies wasn't available and couldn't give you at least 80 minutes in a game. But apart from that, all the way around the park, I feel we've got a nice settled side and reasonable cover.
So how are you feeling about Monday then? We'll finish on that. I mean, Huddersfield, they've gone second. Admittedly, Bournemouth have got 5 games in hand while their stadium's rebuilt. But they're going pretty well, aren't they, Huddersfield? It's not going to be an easy game. I hope not Forest fans aren't assuming, they're going to be playing Liverpool in the next round yet, are they?
No, there's lots of talk about Liverpool, isn't there? We were having a good conversation at work today about what our plans are going to be for that game, and we had to remind each other we're not in that game yet. And Huddersfield are no pushovers. They've breezed Peterborough aside tonight, which you probably don't read too much into, but they're second in the Championship. Ward's banged a few in, but beneath that they haven't really got anyone that's an out-and-out goal threat. Very similar to us in the sense they expect all of their midfielders to chip in. But it'll be no easy test. 3 days on from us both having an important league game. There's bound to be changes, knocks, potentially 1 or 2 surprises. Maybe managers considering if they can lay out a full-strength team, or if they are going to treat this game as an opportunity to try something or rest 1 or 2. So I don't think Forest will take them lightly because they can't. Huddersfield command respect for where they find themselves, the results that they've had recently. But what a prize that is, Mark. I would love to watch Forest v Liverpool at the City Ground in a quarter-final of the FA Cup. And we've got to beat Huddersfield to get there. So the motivation is surely there to do it. What do you think? Do you think there could be some rotation on both parts, or do you think both teams will go all out?
I think you've got to go all out, haven't you? Because you know what the draw is, you know what the prize is. It's kind of, obviously you work in PR, and I do to an extent. It's PR suicide, isn't it, to rest 5 or 6 players with Liverpool in the quarterfinal, and kind of the knowledge that I think if Forest was to play Liverpool, getting ahead of ourselves, I think they'd give them a good game, because Klopp would have to rest people because they'll might be in the Champions League. They'll still be chasing the title. So you'd still play a good side, but you'd end up playing those 2 or 3 players who aren't quite Liverpool's first choice. They give them a good game. So they've got to go full tilt. I think my worry maybe just around player fitness for 1 or 2, like you say, if Davis. I'm not sure Davis he's played 90 minutes tonight, but he'll be tired. Colback looked tired. Garner does. If Forest had a bigger squad and, like you say, more depth like they had with wings, I think Garner would have had a rest by now. But they just rely on that core group, which is no bad thing. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting game. I think Forest might just sneak it, and then don't get distracted by Liverpool. Try and get promoted, and hopefully play Liverpool twice next season. That's the dream, certainly. Last thing, quickly, the accounts are out today. Have you seen them?
Well, I just heard the piece about Marinakis's debt write-off, which is like reaffirming his commitment to the club. And what were the standout numbers?
Well, they lost 34 million was the operating loss, but the more crucial numbers, they lost 15 million after you adjust that for transfers and pre-tax losses. Marinakis wrote off 12 million and turned it into shares. I don't understand the intricacies of how that's allowed, but it is. So that's a good thing, and it shows the commitment of the owner. I think the thing I took away from it, if they don't go up, they've got to sell someone, because player sales, there was 14 million player sales, which I think was the Matty Cash money, and that brings you down. And they didn't sell Brennan or Joe over the winter. So I think it is promotional bust when it comes to Brennan, even if he would be willing to stay. That's what it said to me. But that's kind of what we knew, isn't it, all along?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about the cycle of that, haven't we? You can't go for it every year. Even if your owner has got the means to go for it every year, if you find yourself, come to mid-table, you probably do have an FFP year and not spend too much in January. But I'm not sure we did spend too much in January. We were sensible. Surrey didn't break the bank. The players we bought in didn't break the bank. And the key piece was not to sell at that point. I think, look, we all know that come what may, at the end of the season, there's going to be interest in our players, if we're in the Championship or the Premier League. If we're in the Championship, there's definitely going to be a mass exploration of the loan market and a focus on bringing in players that are probably under 26 who've got a resale value in the future. So if the fear is that there's not going to be enough resource to bring in the players to have another go at getting promoted, then I would temper that by reminding everybody that the 5 loan players we've got in at this moment in time didn't command a huge fee, have settled into the first team in an instant, and have made us an extremely competitive Championship side. So, I'm by no means a forensic accountant, but I don't think that's anything we need to worry about at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there was anything to be alarmed about in the accounts, as long as Forest are running the ship sensibly, and it seems like they are. Certainly, like you say, they didn't blow a ton of money in January, and they don't seem to be paying out ridiculous wages, and there are big earners who are out of contract soon, which does leave them another question, of course. And there's players like Taylor and Arter, which they're going to have to come to some sort of arrangement with if they're not going to be here next season, I think. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day, and the clock is ticking. Although there's a lot of people still watching us, which I'm grateful for. So hopefully everyone's enjoyed that. And thanks for the comments. Temps, thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate the chat. And let's hope we get the right result on Monday night.
Yep, we'll be back on Tuesday to discuss that game against Huddersfield and hopefully look back on a win, and then look ahead to the next game. Who is that against? I don't know. The next league game we'll look forward to when hopefully Forest continue their march to the Premier League. So thanks for everyone who's watched or listened along, and we'll see you on Tuesday.